All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. Technically Victory Monday. I know we won on Saturday, but still Victory Monday in my book. Still a good Monday. Regular season is now over. We have nothing left but the postseason. We know all the matchups for next week. Everything is set. All we got to do is watch the games. And we're going to be watching the games without the Seattle Seahawks participating because they have the first round bye. So next week is going to be a chill week for us. We're going to be watching other teams, and we're going to be trying to figure out what we want to happen. So I was going to make a video yesterday after the late games or the afternoon games to talk about what the impact was on Seattle, but I decided not to because the Charles Cross news came out, and I figured that was a little more important. And then I was going to make a video after the Sunday night game since everything had been settled at that point. But then I was like, yeah, I'll just do it in the morning. I was busy and whatever. I think we all kind of know what's up. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. Nevertheless, let's look and see where everything has landed, mostly from the Seahawks perspective, but there's also some stuff that's interesting going on across the league. We've got Seattle in the catbird seat, the bye week. We did indeed have the Rams win their game yesterday to secure the number 5 seed, which means they are going to be going on the road to play the Panthers. And they're actually going to be the first game next weekend. So Saturday afternoon, Panthers hosting the Rams, January 10th. So that's a game that Seattle will be watching with great interest. It is possible that whoever wins that game is the team that we play in our first playoff game. However, we won't know that until we see how the other two games go. So let's talk about that and make sure everything is laid out as plainly as can be. So after the Panthers-Rams game on January 10th at 1:30, so that's the afternoon game, we have an evening game that night. Bears play the Packers. If the Packers win, nothing else matters. We're playing the Packers in the first round because they are guaranteed to be the lowest seeded team remaining if they win. Now, you can see Green Bay opened as a favorite in this game by 1.5 points. The Bears have lost 2 games in a row. They really didn't look that good yesterday. Their defense, big problems. It's also the first playoff game for most of the players on that team. And, of course, Ben Johnson, first year as a head coach. There could be some happy to be there vibes, whereas the Packers, you got to believe there are some guys there that are kind of playing and or coaching for their job. So I think there's a very good chance Green Bay does win that game. Not sure, but definitely open to it. And if the Packers win, we play the Packers. Now, if the Bears win, then we start thinking about the next day, the afternoon game on Sunday, January 11th. That is going to be the Eagles versus the 49ers. The Eagles lost. So the Bears losing yesterday actually didn't affect anything because the Eagles also lost. They play the 49ers in Philadelphia Sunday afternoon. If the 49ers win, we're going to play the Niners unless the Packers win. So if the Bears win and then the 49ers win, we draw the 49ers, which after what happened on Saturday, I'm feeling pretty darn good about, I got to be honest. But we'll have to see who the Niners even have for that game. Like, as of right now, if you tell me that Purdy's going to be playing with a bad thumb and a bad rib and all that stuff, and they got nothing at linebacker, and who knows what's going on with Trent Williams, who knows what's going on with Ricky Pearsall, it's tough. If the 49ers have a decent chunk of their guys back, obviously we know they're not getting Fred Warner back yet, but if they get Pearsall, Trent Williams, and their linebackers back, I actually would probably like them to beat Philly, but I just don't know what they're going to be having at those positions. So we'll see what happens there. But if the Niners win and the Bears win, we're playing the 49ers. If the Bears win and the Eagles win, then we play whoever wins this game between the Panthers and Rams. So that's the order of operations here. If the Packers win, we play them. And then it's kind of like an else statement, right? If else the Niners win, we play them. If else, whoever wins this game is the team we're playing. So that's 4 teams we could play. We'll talk about all 4 of them throughout the week, but those are the possible opponents. So that's basically all there is to say right now. There's some interesting stuff going on in the AFC. The Steelers obviously eked out their playoff spot by a very, very competitive game last night. A lot of fun. So they get Houston. We got Jaguars versus Bills in the first round, Patriots, Chargers, and then you got Denver waiting with the bye week, but we'll worry about that when it's time to worry about that. And obviously this week is not the week where we have to worry about that. We are thinking about what's going on in the NFC. Okay. So that's the playoff stuff. That kind of resolves all the stuff that happened yesterday with the Rams winning, the Eagles losing, the Bears losing, and it sets us up. Now, if you want to talk about draft stuff, the other thing that has been settled is all the picks in the top 18. The draft order is now on ice for all teams in the top 18. There is obviously a lot that can be settled with the playoffs in terms of who picks where, because the losers of each round get the earlier picks in the first, and then it cascades down. So there is a lot to be determined there, but the top 18 is now on ice. Obviously, Seattle does not have a pick in the top 18 this year, but the thing that we've been monitoring throughout much of this season has been the Rams pick they're getting from the Atlanta Falcons, and you can see that pick is on ice at 13th. So that cannot be moved. Everything is settled there. As you can see, unfortunately, the Falcons had a pretty weak strength of schedule. So their 8-9 is worse than everyone else's 8-9. If Detroit had lost yesterday, their 8-9 would have been a little bit worse, but unfortunately they did win. So didn't work out exactly the way we wanted it to. But what I would say is this. When you consider the fact that James Pierce Jr. has actually been very good this year for Atlanta, it ends up not being that bad of a trade for the Falcons. And getting the 13th overall pick in this draft, which doesn't look like a great draft right now, it just doesn't, especially at quarterback, it's not as bad as it could have been. There was a time where this looked like a disaster. Now, I don't think it's a disaster. It's annoying for sure, but at the very least, I don't think they're going to be able to use this pick on its own to get a new quarterback after Stafford leaves. It's not a good QB class, and the pick is not valuable enough to flip it for Dak Prescott or Joe Burrow or whatever. So we got that going on. The other thing of note would be the Cardinals. They locked up pick number 3, so they are picking 3rd overall, which you can probably get a blue chipper at number 3. So not great, but I mean, when you're that bad, when you lose 9 games in a row, you deserve to have a high pick. And I think that's really about it from our perspective. The top 2 picks go to AFC teams, which is kind of nice, the Raiders and Jets. Then you got the Titans also getting a top 4 pick. So most of the blue chippers in this draft are going to go to the AFC. You've also got the Browns here at number 6. And things ended up playing out fairly well for us. I'm not too upset about any of this. I would have preferred that Arizona find a way to win a game at some point. Their pick would have been bumped down to, I believe, 6 if they had just won one game. But again, the bad teams should pick high. That's how the league works. And I'll say it again. Remember how bad this looked about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Atlanta looked like they were going to be giving LA a top 5 pick. And you saw it yesterday when Atlanta fired their coach. They fired Raheem Morris, and they fired their general manager, even though they finished the season on a 4-game winning streak and ended up going 8-9, which is not that bad, because the trade that they made with the Rams was such a committing move. Anything less than making the playoffs is a complete failure. So even though they weren't that bad this year, even though they looked good at the end, they won their, like I said, they won their last 4 games in a row. That trade was a pass or fail moment, and the pass or fail line was making the playoffs. So that's how much of a mess that trade has been, even though they ended up getting a good player out of it. But as you can see, I don't know if it was worth it. But at the very least, it's debatable now. 2 months ago didn't look very debatable. All right. So I guess that'll do it. That's really all there is to say. We're set. We know the playoff bracket. We know what's going on the NFC side. We know, I think all of us are going to want different things. Some people are going to want to play the Packers. Some people are going to want to play the Niners. Some people are going to want to play the Rams. I think if you want to play the Rams, it's probably because you're just trying to, maybe you feel like if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And it feels like the Rams are the best team on the NFC bracket other than Seattle. And some people are going to want to play the Panthers, and we'll talk plenty about that during the week, but everybody's going to want different things. All right, so that's about it for this video. More stuff coming soon. We're going to talk a bunch about the Saturday game because I haven't really opened up the onion on that one yet, but that's for later. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Go Hawks, and see you guys soon.